also say this, we are looking at an expedited COVID form, so that it's not as, you know, right.
Especially when you have multiple children.
Oh, I know, I'm living that too.
Like
So,
in my district, it's now optional.
okay,
Where I teach.
Okay.
So I just didn't know if it's based by district, you know.
right. So that's what we're looking at right now. Yes.
I understand in the beginning you mentioned obviously the executive order mask mandate and that it takes this out of your hands, but that you're not willing, even though some other districts have made masks optional.
Or they've written to make masks, you know.
But that you're concerned or you're not willing to do that because of the number of people who are unable to be vaccinated. So I was wondering, is there a certain amount or is there a percentage of people, like what would it take in order for this district to make masks optional? Is there a certain amount of people who would need to be vaccinated? Is it like, what do you have in mind?
So the question is, what would it take in order for me to recommend making masks optional? Would it be a certain number of people vaccinated? Would it, and you know what, I'll think about that. Definitely if we're in low for a sustained period of time, I would immediately consider it. Not a week, but several weeks, I would absolutely consider that. Looking at the trends, talking to other people, and by other people I mean departments of health and things like that. So a specific number, I don't know. I haven't given it much thought. I will think about that. Yes.
The last question and answer I had asked, and then I had followed up with an email, and you said you were going to look into it with the school physician. If, like myself, my husband, both of my kids have already had COVID back in June and have the natural antibodies. Is there anything in the guidance, regarding, the mandatory masking or the vaccination when our doctors are recommending us actually not to get the vaccine? Because there's kind of like there's vaccinated, unvaccinated, but then there's, those of us that have natural immunity to this virus based on what our bodies were intended to do.
Right, so we haven't gotten any official guidance on it. The question was about if you've had COVID and you have natural antibodies to it, would there be a consideration for not masking and things like that? That was the question. So the question a couple weeks ago, I bet the answer is changed now, know, but there's been no official guidance on that. I did read just very recently, maybe even last night or early this morning, that if there's, because they're talking about the booster shot and the third shot, but if you've been vaccinated, so I suspect we're gonna get more information on that, because that's a real thing too.
Okay.
And right now, if you've had COVID, there's something in the guidance of quarantine that says that's someone who has had COVID-19 illness within the previous 3 months, has recovered and remains without COVID symptoms, and was a close contact, you don't have to quarantine. So they were very specific about the 3-month thing. So maybe it depends when you had it. So that's...
Yeah, because ours was late June with my son, but that's just about the quarantine, that's not about the mask.
Right, that's not about the mask.
Thank you.
So I bet it's gonna be connected. So, did I see a hand? Yes, ma'am.
So for families with multiple kids within a school, if one classroom is advised to quarantine based on a case or exposure, will siblings be required to stay home during that period?
So the question is if families with multiple children, and if one classroom has to close, will the other sibling have to also quarantine? And different classrooms, you're just talking about families.
I have 4 kids going into so back to your idea of and I've also
Times 4.
times 4, and I've had to leave my job in the course of COVID. So for planning, do I need to prepare to have 4 kids home doing
Right.
just so I can mentally be ready?
And because the children are not eligible to be vaccinated, whether you wanted to or not, because they're not eligible to be vaccinated.
Exactly.
You know what? Off the cuff, I'm gonna say no, but don't hold me to that. And I know you're recording me, so that's even on there. Don't hold me to that. Let me look that up. I'm not positive. So let me be sure. And that might be part of the protocol that you were talking about with nurses. So let me look.